between 8,000 RMB and 15,000 RMB. And usually when we are comparing statistics for like China versus America, China's a lot cheaper. What's interesting, just on the prenatal care, it's actually the same, according to $2,000, which is about the same. The articles indicating it would cost here in the U.S.
You're probably looking at figures for private hospitals. I think for most Chinese citizens, they go to the public hospital, and I don't think the cost is much of an issue. It would be much lower than that. And because, nowadays, especially because the nation is encouraging buying more births. But I don't think they have to spend a lot. But the problem with public hospitals is that usually there are a lot of patients. And because you might be waiting for a while. And I remember I went to a private hospital for my checkup. Just so that it's it's a better setting. It's less crowded. And
there's a fish tank in the front.
No, I was too exhausted to
notice the fish tank.
Notice the fish tank.
Congrats to us husbands. We will go and look at the fish for you.
Yeah. I remember the whole thing costed probably 15,000 to 20,000 maybe. It felt pretty expensive per visit.
RMB.
Yeah, RMB. So like $2,000 or $3,000 probably. I don't remember it too well, but it felt pretty expensive per visit. But adding it all up, I thought it was reasonable. So much nicer.
One other thing, because there's aspects to this. There's the prenatal care. I read this article, and I've talked with other expats very recently, about the cost of giving birth 3 months ago. I guess 4 months ago for this lady from South Africa who lives here in Wuhan. And she was saying that she paid 10,000, had her own private, for giving birth. She paid 10,000 RMB, which was very nice, and had her own private room with her own private nurse. And this article also mentions that's about 10 to 13,000. That's RMB, so it's less than 2,000. But I found on another CBS News, and the average cost of giving birth in the U.S. is $26,000, 380. So that means, what is that? Like 14 times more expensive or something? It's wow.
Yeah, but that's pre-insurance, right?
I guess so, yeah.
You don't have insurance.
Yeah, well, not everybody's insured, but I guess most people are at least partially insured in some way in the U.S. now. I think it's like 91% of people are covered by some kind of insurance in the U.S.
And I remember my cousin, she gave birth in like a public hospital. And that's like where she went for all the prenatal care and everything. And it probably costed like over 1,000 RMB. Pretty much nothing, like $200.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Giving birth. I know, it's not.
What? So you say 1,000 RMB to give birth?
It was very little. It was
negligible.
Negligible, exactly.
Yes, negligible. Okay, yeah.
And then after birth, you can claim your birth insurance, which comes to, I think, over like 30,000 or more RMB. It's like some kind of social insurance.
Yeah.
So cost is not really something you have to worry about.
So when you claim that, they pay you back, you pay nothing.
It's not related to the birth fee, but I'm just saying there is insurance for, like social insurance for giving birth. But of course, that was a normal birth. And if like your child has to be in the
right position?
Like in the no. Sometimes they keep the baby in the hospital for a few days.
Oh, yeah.
In the it's not really emergency, but
incubation.
Oh, yeah. Something
Actually,
like that.
my niece was incubated. She was born 6.5 months.
That's a lot.
So she was tiny, like a mouse. And they kept her in an incubator for a month before they let her leave the hospital. I remember going in and visiting and looking at, she was in a little plastic box, so we couldn't actually touch her without using these like rubber glove things.
I remember my friend, so the birth was practically, nothing, like $200. But then, for one reason or another, they kept their son in the hospital for a week, and that ended up costing for over 10,000 RMB.
Yeah, 1,500.
Which is like what, over $1,000 dollars? Yeah, maybe it wasn't like something major, but they just wanted to make sure. But then when you are having a kid, you barely look at the figure when you are signing the check. And I remember they were talking about how every day the husband has to travel several times between home and the hospital because the wife was home and she would pump milk, and then he would drive over. It was like over an hour away, and so they can see the baby.
Poor husband.
Well, that's just the start. That's just the start. And that's like, what's the word again?
Negligible.
No, that's a really... Negligible. Compared to all the other things you have to deal with.
Yeah.
When after I gave birth, right after, I felt like, oh, okay, it's done now. Big job done. I didn't know that was the start of...
Now that I've given birth, everything is downhill.
Yeah, it was literally the start of this, endless journey.
Well, actually, I want to ask some questions. I'm sorry. You said you were nauseous for months before you gave birth. How long did it take for you to feel, like healthy, normal baby?
Years.
Oh, wow.
Because I remember maybe
Keep selling it, baby.
Thrilling, I know. But it doesn't happen to everyone, I was just weak, I guess. So I kept throwing up until the 7th month.
Oh.
And then after that, I was calmer. I didn't throw up anymore. But I was swollen. So my feet and my hands were
We're talking about after giving birth.
No, this is before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is before. I remember taking short walks like a robot. Outside, very, very slowly, and my fingers will feel so swollen. They felt like they were carrot sticks.
Wow.
They were so big and thick, and your feet would be swollen. But these are little things, really. It's maybe for someone who's not pregnant, you'll feel like, this is uncomfortable. But adding on top of the other things is really nothing. But I do want to say something fun about being pregnant.
Ice cream and pickles.
No. I lost my appetite, so none of the things were attractive to me. But the feeling of having another human being inside your body, that is almost worth it. I was almost, because if I only threw up for a month or two, that's worth it. But it's something I feel too bad for you, man. You don't ever get to experience that.
Honestly, that sounds like that Alien movie.
No. It's in a good way.
Sure. Maybe you're biologically built to feel that sounds like a great idea. Because when you say there's going to be another person inside of you, that doesn't sound fun to me.
In the beginning, let's say when I was 3 or 4 months pregnant, one of those days you feel something, but you're not sure. That's the first time that you feel something's moving, and it feels like you have a tiny little fish inside your belly that's swimming around, but you're not too sure. Maybe it's just gas or something. But then, of course, as the pregnancy goes forward, you feel it. You're sure. You're definitely sure. And later on, my daughter hiccuped a lot when she was still inside my belly, and that was so much fun. You can feel the baby hiccuping.
How can you tell which thing she's doing, tapping you or hiccuping or kicking you?
Hiccuping is very obvious. It's got a rhythm to it. It's just like you hiccuping, except that she's inside you, and then you would just soothe her a little bit, and it can last for a long time. She could hiccup for 15 minutes or more. And sometimes she would poke her feet out, you would feel she was slowly poking one of her legs and to the side of my belly, and then I would scratch it. I would scratch that spot, and she would pull her leg. Correction. That is not the word, but it's very unique, and it's very, very precious. That's the fun part about being pregnant. And you start communicating with her, and that's the communication that you guys don't get. You get to talk to her. And also, I remember probably the 8th month, almost the month before birth, and you can't really sleep normally, right? You can't lie down and sleep because the belly is too heavy. And so I would lie on the side, and then my daughter didn't like it. And after a minute or two, she'll start kicking like crazy. Maybe just it was not comfortable for her. So that's another way of communicating. So if she's talking to you, hey.
I mean, that sounds magical in a kind of way, but I think, honestly, that
Your past?
It would freak me out. You know, I'm really glad that I am a man.
You will freak out if it's your son or your daughter kicking, right? It's not an alien. And you get to see pictures.
If it was happening inside my wife, I'm already going to be scared, too. I'm going to be, oh my gosh, are you okay? It's kicking you.
It's fine. If you're okay, we get used to it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to My Stories of Chinese Characters, Season 2. I'm Uncle Han Sis. This season, we will travel to different destinations and experience the different scenery throughout the year. This season, we will taste delicious food.
Delicious. How sure?
Feel the delicacy of Chinese silk. Some people say that this is the world's first computer, because each one of these is an instruction. And enjoy the local architecture.
Yeah, it's a big house.
We will feel a sense of camaraderie on the slow train. And feel the excitement of the snowfield. I'm Uncle Han. This season, we'll take you to see a different China from the perspective of Chinese characters. Meet us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and other major podcast platforms, or on our website, radio.cgtn.com.
You're listening to The Break.
I wanted to ask you, because you've obviously been through this process, and you have a husband who loves going to the desert and setting up tents. How should a husband be supportive of what are ideal ways that you would like all men to treat their wives when they're going through this process?
That's a tough question. I guess just the understanding, and I feel like I needed more support from other ladies who are pregnant at the same time, because they actually know how you feel, and they have the information. Like if you feel something that you think is not right, and they're more likely to have information to offer, right? And your husband, he can just probably stand there and feel nervous, and that will make things worse. So I think the most helpful thing during pregnancy and also after giving birth was to have this group of ladies. Like it just so happened that a few of my friends, we were going through this practically at the same time. You know, our babies were within weeks of each other.
Wow.
So that was very, very helpful. You know, when I had a hard day, and they probably had the same thing too. Or after the baby was born, you know, one kid has fever or a cough, and the other was probably just had one, or, you know. So you have this understanding, and it's very comforting to know that you're not the only one who's going through something tough or something challenging. So I think the husband part kind of faded into the background a little bit. I remember him peeling a lot of sunflower seeds because, you know, I didn't want to eat anything. And very few things that just maybe plain bread. And he's very careful about what to eat. And he saw these plain sunflower seeds had a lot of nutrients and not, you know, just plain ones, not with all the flavoring and all that. So, yeah, other than that, there are not a lot of memories of him, I guess.
I have another question. In America, a lot of ladies will join, like, different kinds of groups, like breathing, like for, you know, learning how to breathe appropriately, or classes to, like, learn how to, you know, give birth, or also, you know, what is it like to be early parenting. And you mentioned that you and your friends automatically created your own organized support network. Did you go to like any like formal classes for like or educational seminars? Or
I was in bed. You know, when I didn't have to work, I was in bed hoping that I could fall asleep so that I don't feel the nauseating side effects. So not really, but I think maybe people go to these groups more for the social networking and for the support, emotional support, than actually learning like skills. Because I mean, I didn't learn the skills, but the birth went through pretty smoothly. You kind of, you listen to the nurse and they know what to do and you kind of just follow it. It's not like you can go against it, right? It's something that happens naturally, although it's difficult.
We were talking about health, and this is a kind of a darker side of this, but we were talking about health and the possibility that something could be complicated during the pregnancy itself. Well, yeah, I'm sure you heard in the United States, was shut down by the Supreme Court in the United States, and women's reproductive choices were taken away from them by the Supreme Court. And I was wondering, to what degree do Chinese ladies have power over their own pregnancy?
I think they have all the powers they have. I mean, it's not really something that we think about. I've had this one pregnancy, and luckily it's been, looking back, it's been very smooth and all. And I don't really know about other things that you do or terminating pregnancy. But I think there are ways. I'm not very experienced when it comes to that. But I think people have more choices. Yeah.
I actually did look up the answer. Women have the power to decide their own body's fate here in China. I just wanted to maybe ask you because I'm an American, and I thought, it'd be more appropriate to have the information coming from you.
Right. I think people just have to be, ladies just have to be more careful. Yeah. Right? Either way, whether or not you have the choice, you still have to be more careful because terminating the pregnancy not only...
It's a very serious choice.
It not only takes the life of the baby, but also it's very harmful for the mother. Like, did you know that they can scrape the womb?
Oh, gosh, no, I didn't.
Scrape clean? Yeah.
It's
not just that it comes out and that's it. You have to make sure that it's all nice and clean inside. And I've come across videos of that serve like warnings for ladies who are not careful in this way. They are. I remember this one video, this young lady, she's still, probably late teens, very young. And she's had that for several times already.
Oh, my.
And the doctor's like, do you know what it looks like inside your womb? Like, there's no, smooth space anymore. It's all been scraped several times. But, you don't want to hear this. But it's not a simple thing that you just take out and you heal. It can harm your body in deeper ways.
I was recently discussing this with another lady very, very briefly and not quite so graphically. And she mentioned the same thing, that after a few of these, then women can even lose the ability to reproduce. So if they decide to have children later, adoption will become the only method that they can have children.
It's painful. I don't know, maybe not painful, but I remember hearing about it.
Goodness.
When I was younger, so much, and sometimes I do with that's back then. Okay, it's too gory.
I think we should probably avoid too more details for this show. This is a strange question, but I think a lot of people, men who are uneducated about this, like myself, are curious. You start lactating before you give birth?
Well, some people could. Yeah. You mean have milk, right?
Your body goes through changes, and so you mentioned swelling ankles and carrot fingers, and
everything swells.
Other noticeable things happen to your body that maybe most men who have already had a wife who's gone through this wouldn't know.
No, things will be pretty obvious. Like your size from the whole body will go through changes. Bit of that. They can easily go back. I'm not any heavier than before I had my daughter, and things go back to the normal sizes.
Yeah. I noticed that actually in Asia it's very different because a lot of my mom, she's a wonderful lady. She did get slightly bigger size each time of us, and she's kind of that stayed on. But I noticed in China and my time in South Korea, new moms that were had a baby a year ago were pretty much just as fit as they were probably before they had a baby. I thought that's really interesting.
Maybe part of it is genetic. I'm not too sure. And maybe part of it might be the diet. I mean, in general, as you can notice in China, people eat a lot more vegetables, right? And less fast food. So fast food is changing nowadays. We'll eat at home. home a lot more than they eat out. So part of this is diet, and part of it is just work. And it's actually hard to keep all that extra pounds on because you're so busy taking care of the baby and also working at the same time. So it might take, like for some people, they might have to pay a little attention, right? So that things don't get out of control, your weight and everything. But it's, you can deal with it.
You know, I keep bringing up husbands, and I feel maybe I'm making this too much about men when it's not. So I have another question about husbands. I've heard of some cases where men have similar symptoms to their expecting wives or expecting partners. And just like a sympathy pains and sympathy, like, did your husband experience any of that?
No, I don't think so. No. But I just have this mental image of you fainting in the hospital.
I almost wish...
And Summer will be like...
Yeah. I almost wish they would say, Jason, you have to wait in the waiting room, because I would feel so much better about just, like, hiding in a magazine with headphones on or something.
Okay, but see, there are experiences in your life that can be replaced by other things that are not replaceable or interchangeable. And one of those things is hearing your baby's heartbeat for the first time. I still remember, and it's just you know how most of our a most normal day. We kind of live our lives in our head, right? Like we think, and I don't mean that's the right way to live, but that's how we are nowadays. We think a lot. But there are times when you are dragged back into a more primeval way of life, that you experience life through your heart. There is something more internal. It has to go through your head. Like a moment, like knowing that you're pregnant, being pregnant or you're pregnant, hearing your baby's heartbeat for the first time, and then just every time you go to check up and actually see your baby moving on the screen, and then finally as the baby grows, see the baby smile and how cute they are. All these moments that I've mentioned, you don't lose the baby through your head. Naturally live them through your heart. And there's the word for it. Visceral? Is that a word like this? Visceral. Like you just have to look it up again. Because I remember it means relating to like internal organs, but it's obtained through intuition rather than from reasoning or observation. And that's how I feel parents feel when they look at their baby.
Yeah.
They don't think that, oh, I love this thing. They don't think that, oh, it's so cute. They just feel it. It's part of your natural feeling. And nowadays we have such, efficient brains. We can think and we can calculate. But sometimes we lose touch with our most natural and basic essential being. But being the whole process of creating a baby and being with a baby, giving birth and all that, taking care of it, bring us back to that state for a bit more.
Yeah.
You are down to your essence in a way. And that feeling you don't get through a lot of other things. So that's very, very precious. Did that sound confusing?
Well, I mean, I understand. When you gave birth, did your husband come into the room and like...
Yeah, he was in the room all the time. Very agitated.
Agitated or worried, nervous?
Oh, yeah. About everything. About why the baby's still not out. Why things are taking so long. I think he almost had a fight with the doctor.
Really? Wow.
Because he felt like, you should give my wife a shot now so that water inside the uterus or whatever is not contaminated. He knows too much. He searches for things online, just like you. 100,000 articles. 100 articles, and you get a picture of all the things that could possibly go wrong.
Wow.
So he felt like it's been too long. My baby's now drinking dirty. What do you call the water inside the womb? You know the water, right? There's water inside.
Yeah, I know. They say that the water broke. That's all I know.
Right. So the baby, it's swimming in water. But he was afraid that.
I haven't read 100 articles.
So anyhow, he was really agitated, and I had to calm him down.
Wow.
And
wow. So you're there. already in the process of giving birth, which is one of the hardest things we could probably do as a human being.
Right.
And then you have to calm your husband down with these.
Because I saw a fight coming, you know. I thought that if things kept going this way, he's going to have a fight with a doctor, and he's going to jab a needle like in my arm himself.
Oh, yeah. Self-protection.
The doctor was very nice. You know, she came in several times trying to calm down, telling him that, you know, we have everything is fine, you know, things are normal. So, yeah, I remember that's how he was. And he doesn't really show his feelings too much, but I could tell that he was very worried, and he was probably excited at the same time, but, you know, I guess he was. I asked him about it later. He said he cried, but I didn't notice. Who noticed the husband, right, when the baby is born?
Well, yeah, exactly, right. Well, how can you notice when you're, like, I don't know, imagining you squinting and screaming or something?
No, there was not a lot of screaming. It takes concentration. This much I can say. It takes concentration to give birth.
You weren't screaming.
Yeah.
You weren't like, in a lot of television programs and movies, they show a woman who is giving birth, like, screaming at people and, like,
oh, yeah. So they at people? That's different.
Like, you did this to me or something.
Well, I did scream at him a little bit. I think he was, just as I was concentrating, as I mentioned, you need to focus all your energy at one point, right? There is dedication to which you should concentrate all your effort. And then he was like whispering something in my ear, like things to the effect of, oh, calm down, everything will be okay. And I turned and was like, shut up! I think that shocked him a bit, but I really need all the concentration I had. Yeah, because it was taking a bit of time. But anyhow.
So, okay, one takeaway is quiet.
Be quiet.
Not be the coach of say, well, all right, push now, go.
No. But I do have the feeling that if you go through this, you're going to faint in, like, a quarter into it. And you'll see a stretcher carry you out of the room. And they'll be reviving you instead of... I think Summer will be fine. She'll probably just walk out of the hospital room after birth. Some women there are like that. You know, it's done. They'll walk out. And
I've heard of those stories where they're just like, okay, done, ready to go.
And there you are, Jason, lying on the bed.
I don't think that's the norm. You know, we don't have that much time. We only have about 5 or 6 minutes. But I did want to talk just very briefly, and this could be its own show, about the few weeks, maybe months after giving birth, because I know for a fact from talking to Chinese ladies and American ladies that this is very different in China versus like the American culture. And so in American culture, a woman gives birth, she's probably back at work in like a week or two.
Oh my God.
Because there's no maternity leave, and a lot of women are just like, okay, cool, I'm ready. And I know in China, like, firstly, you guys have like 6 months maternity leave, but besides the modernity of that, there's a history of the women being taken care of very carefully for 1 month, where they can't leave the house.
Sitting the month.
Yeah, could you tell us a little bit about this?
We have 3 minutes, and you want me to tell you about sitting the month after birth?
Could you give us the bullet points of it?
It's complicated.
So I heard one is don't wash your hair.
Yeah. Well, okay. A lot of these traditions are from back when there was no air conditioning, there was no heating, right? But, like, we're talking about, like, hundreds of years ago, right? Because these traditions have been around for probably thousands. Nowadays, things are different. There's, hot water, and it's winter time, no problem. You have heating, because it's the sudden change of temperature. Let's say if, like, suddenly there is a gust of cold wind, and it hits the new mom, then it might have problems. Because it will, it'll go to your joints, and they can leave long-term pain. And this is real. I'm not making this up. But now it's different. Everything can be, windows and doors can be sealed perfectly. You can control the temperature, have a nice bath whenever. But I do admit that I didn't wash my hair for 2 weeks after giving birth. So I guess some people think it's gross, but it's not that bad, because the fancy thing, I did something fancier. We boiled ginger in water, like huge pots, like 2 pounds of ginger, and then you boil them in hot pots. and you use the water to wipe your hair. And my hair had never been that great for those 2 weeks. Like that 2 weeks and 2 more, so basically the whole month. That's how I wash my hair, not like completely wetting it, but taking this towel and dipping it thoroughly in this like warm, close to hot ginger water, and then just wipe your hair with it several times. And my hair felt so great. I thought it grew hair. I mean, for people, you know about ginger.
Grow hair. I'm going to try this. Wait a minute.
Did you know the connection between ginger and hair growth?
I did, actually. I've tried this Chinese product to prevent my hairline from receding, which is it's a ginger-based product.
Yeah, but the doses I don't. Think about like 2 pounds of ginger and boil it. If you could do that, like wash your hair with that every time, you will see things happening. You will grow hair. But the thing is that most people can't keep it for that long. So my point was, even though I didn't have like a full shower kind of washing my hair, but I washed it every other day this way, and it turned out to be, my hair was nice.
Glorious hair.
It was shiny and smooth, and I could just swing it. It was beautiful. And we used that water to wipe my body. So instead of taking like full showers, I had warm ginger water. I wipe my body with that.
I'm just imagining you smell like really wonderful hot pot.
no other ingredients, just ginger. And then, of course, at the end of it, you soak your feet in the warm to hot ginger water, so everything circulates nicely. Yeah, it's very pampering. City of the month can be very pampering. You know, people, they can pay $2,000, $3,000, or even more to go to a place where they can spend their money.
So this is typically done at home, is it not?
Yeah, well, some people, they have the extra money to spend, then they can go to one of these centers, right?
So it's a post-pregnancy
centers, yeah.
center. Your baby is with you.
Yeah, they take care of the baby for you, and you get massages and like spa treatments, and you get like
only 2,000 or 3,000. You mean a day? 3,000 RMB a day?
Wait, I think it's very expensive. You know, it can go from a few $1,000s a month or 28 days to more than that. Yeah, it can get very expensive. It can get very fancy. I don't think it's all that necessary, but do hire a nanny.
This is not for the husband, so the husband cannot see his wife for the month, or he gets like a daily visit? Or...
No, they can stay there. Yeah, they can stay together. Yeah.
Oh, I see it.
It just costs money.
It's like a hotel plus massages and stuff.
It's more like a spa
daycare.
place. Yeah.
But, interesting.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Americans, you need to learn from China, my guys. Yeah,
you're missing out.
This sounds like the way to do it. So after you give birth, men in China, which I don't think a lot of Americans will be surprised to learn, have paternity leave. They have 1 month paid paternity leave in China now. So if there is a facility to go to hang out in the sauna for a month,
it costs money though. Yeah, I think I don't think I got to the spirit of it all. We talked about a lot of details.
Well, I'll give you the final word before we close the show. What is the spirit?
Because when people talk about whether or not they want to have a baby, they tend to think of it as, whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing. But for me, personal experience, when it comes to marriage and having kids, like major experiences like that, it's not about good or bad. It's a life choice. There will be, whether you're single or married or with or without kids, there will be pleasant moments, right, and unpleasant moments. It's the same in terms of that. But the actual experiences will be a little different. So I'm not going to tell you that, hey, Jason, it's better to have kids, because there are moments when it gets very, very challenging. But there are other moments that you won't be able to feel unless you become a parent. And you are going to experience real growth. And if you think that you've grown, you've learned a lot in the past 40 years. Now, once you have a kid, that's like your starting point. That's real growth there. But it doesn't come easy. It's challenging, but I'm sure, I'm not going to say I'm pretty sure, I'm sure that you and Summer can deal with it perfectly.
Well, thank you. That's all the time we have. Look forward to our next episode for more insights and deep part of bridging East and West.
All right, I'll see what interesting topic you'll think of next time. Thank you, Jason.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, guys.
CGTN Radio. Hear the difference.
Now the news. I'm Shane Bigham. The Chinese president arrived in Samarkand, Uzbekistan, to attend the annual summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Xi Jinping will also pay an official visit to the country. The Chinese president's trip follows his stay in Nur-Sultan for a state visit to Kazakhstan. He received Kazakhstan's highest decoration, the Order of the Golden Eagle, from his Kazakh counterpart. This to bilateral relations, as this year marks the 30th anniversary of diplomatic ties between China and Kazakhstan. Ravindra Bawa has more.
Kazakhstan and China's relationship are only growing in the last few years, and the meeting between the two presidents will end with signing up of agreement. Both countries have an interest in each other's in this bilateral ties, and the reason because of the new emerging geopolitical situation. The Trans-Caspian Transportation Corridor has once again become the center stage, and there is interest to renew that corridor once again, and that's why for Kazakhstan this important visit means that they would like China to invest more in transportation, whether it's rail, road or ports, and similarly for China it is important to continue this relationship in terms of energy, in terms of uranium and other minerals that they import from here.
Typhoon Wefa has made landfall in Zhejiang province. Provincial authorities earlier upgraded the emergency response to the highest level. More than 10,000 fishing boats have returned to port, and nearly 720,000 people had evacuated to safe places. Wefa is expected to bring heavy rainfall to East China over the next 2 days. China has approved the building of 2 nuclear power plants in the south of the country. The decision was made at a state council meeting chaired by Premier Li Keqiang, who says the 2 facilities must be absolutely safe. The new power plants will be in Fujian and Guangdong. The Chinese Foreign Ministry says the country is considering sending a high-level delegation to the funeral of Britain's Queen Elizabeth II. Heads of state from across the world, including U.S. President Joe Biden, are expected to attend the state funeral in central London on Monday. The Armenian Defense Ministry says fresh clashes erupted between Azerbaijani and Armenian troops on Wednesday. Came a day after scores died in the deadliest fighting between the neighbors since 2020, prompting an appeal for calm from Russian President Vladimir Putin. Mihail Bar-David has more.
Armenia's defense ministry claimed that drones were used by Azerbaijani forces specifically in the direction of Jermuk, but it's not clear whether or not there are any new casualties on both sides. On Tuesday, it was announced by Armenia that they had lost 49 people, and from Azerbaijan, it was announced that they had lost 50 members of their forces. On Tuesday, following a request by Armenia, the CHN, Collective Security for Treaty Organization, had a meeting chaired by Russian President Vladimir Putin. Later, the organization announced that it was deciding to set up a working group for constant monitoring of the situation, and Armenia has also requested an extraordinary UN Security Council meeting as well. It's been announced that this has been accepted.
The EU executive plans to raise more than 140 billion euros to soften the blow to consumers from soaring energy prices. The budget will be raised by skimming off revenues from low-cost electricity generators and making fossil fuel firms share windfall profits. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen outlined the plan on Wednesday as the 27-member European Union grapples with an energy. President Joe Biden set to announce the approval of the first $900 million in funding to build EV charging stations in 35 states. It's part of a $1 trillion infrastructure law approved in November. The U.S. aims to build thousands of electric vehicle charging stations over 5 years in the country. A magnitude 7 earthquake struck southeast of the Loyalty Islands, New Caledonia on Wednesday. The quake was at a depth of 140 kilometers. The U.S. Tsunami Warning System says there's no risk of a wave after the quake. The China Manned Space Agency says the Shenzhou-14 astronauts are preparing for their second spacewalk outside China's space station. The 3 astronauts carried out their first spacewalk mission earlier this month, completing tasks such as installing additional pumps and lifting a panoramic camera on the lab module. They've completed their first 100 days in orbit. During the second half of their 6-month stay, the Shenzhou-14 crew will also oversee the arrival of a second lab module to be docked with the space station. This is NASA News. I'm Shane Bigham.
From epic tales of mystery and magic to accounts of battle and empire. From the verses of ancient poets to the masterpieces of our time. A light on literature brings to life China's literary heritage and a look at the world in a new light.